What's up, Bulldogs? All right, in this video, we're going to be talking about fawning. It's a weird term, but someone emailed me and they said, I want to stop being a fawn. I want to stop fawning and I want to be a bulldog. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Really, what it comes down to is it's not being a nice guy, right? It's not being passive, being more aggressive, being more assertive, being more of a bulldog. So I'm going to talk about how you make that transition, how to transform yourself so that you can actually be successful. You can actually be what people would call an alpha male, and to actually be attractive, charismatic, and get what you want out of life. If you guys are just joining me for the first time, I'm John from BulldogMindset.com. On this channel, I teach you how to be a man. I teach you how to build financial independence, how to get the physique you want, how to get the girls you want, how to go from the victim mindset to what I call the bulldog mindset. Click that subscribe button, join us here. And make sure you click the bell because, you want to get notifications. I know a lot of people say that, but you want to because YouTube tends to hide my videos. You can guess why. I'll try not to say anything too controversial in this video, but it always happens. It always happens. So do that. Click the like button as well, because it really does help with YouTube algorithm. I know I have to say all this kind of stuff, but trust me on this. If you click the like button, it will help this channel grow and reach more people, and I would really appreciate it. And also, there's a Bulldog quiz up here in the corner. As always, I won't say much about that, but go check it out if you haven't already. All right, so we're going to jump right into an email that I got here, and I'm just going to read it to you. So he says here, hi, John, I really like watching your videos. I've gone back to your older ones, 1, 2, 4+ years old. Cool. All right. Seeing the change is amazing. I am 39 and am not yet a bulldog. I wonder if you can do a video or just reply on the subject of overcoming fawning. This is an ingrained part of me. I only learned about it this year. It is part of the fight, flight, and freeze response. Fawn is essentially appeasement, sucking up, being helpless, or trying to be so weak that you are left alone. Okay, so let's repeat that again. So fawn is essentially appeasement, sucking up, being helpless, or trying to be so weak that you are left alone. Okay, that makes sense. Like a fawn, like a deer in the headlights, all right? I had a relentless, overbearing, controlling father. I used to fawn. I didn't know I was doing this as a child to avoid punishment. I was bullied and ridiculed so much as a teenager and have always felt pushed around, meek, afraid, and yet angry. Now, this is the key thing I want to focus on here is that he says, yet angry. So angry. I can be volatile, but I still feel I am fighting for my life sometimes. I got into fights in my early years, have had alcohol problems, but quit drinking completely now. I do not like confrontation and have no ability to stand up against strong or quote alpha men. I've tried some aspects of kickboxing and martial arts, but only a few months. I do work out at a gym, but I feel like I'm stuck internally and being fed up of being afraid, and also life is passing me by. I lack a lot of joy in my life because I still feel I am living in this place of fear and living this life of being ashamed of myself. I've also done therapy, but progress feels so slow. Any advice? Thanks again. All right, so here's the advice. I'll give you some advice here. So there's a few things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to relate this to anger. Okay, because we all know the guy who shot up a lot of people. Okay, there's been several of these incidents, right? These kind of mass shootings, right? I'm thinking of one in particular of a guy in California that seemed to have this similar type of issue. And again, it's not exactly that if you're fawning, if you're passive, that you're going to be violent, but you see this a lot in guys. You see this personality trait where what you see is that at a surface level, they take a lot of crap, right? They're bullied, but then they have this anger, and then they may become violent at some point, or they're holding on to this anger, this bitterness. And I see this a lot. I've been working with some guys that are, black pill guys, basically. We could say doomers or whatever terminology you want to use. And I've seen this where they almost have like this hatred for other human beings, right? And I can relate to this because I went through a phase in my childhood where I was this, right? I was a fawner, you could say, and I was bullied a lot. And because of that, I adopted this way of behaving where I would be passive. I would laugh at myself. I think I did a video where I was talking about I was wearing this tag rag shirt and I got this stupid nickname or whatever. And I would laugh at myself. I would basically try to make myself non-threatening in a sense so that I would not be attacked. Okay. But what was happening Well, that was as I was developing a deep hatred for the people that were doing this to me, and to some degree myself. And so there was this anger, there was these thoughts of violence, of getting back, getting revenge, sort of dehumanizing these people because they deserved whatever they got, right? And this is kind of a phrase I want you to think about if you've said this or if you've thought this yourself. They deserve whatever they got. This is a dangerous place to be. So part of the reason why you're doing this behavior, why you're fawning, is because you're not dealing with the things as they come, right? So there's sort of this justification that happens where it's like, oh, I'm angry. You don't know what I'm capable of. But it's false, right? Because that anger, it's a way of creating some kind of control over your life. When you feel powerless, it's a way of creating that control to feel like you have power, but you don't actually have power. Because anger is actually a less form of power, right? The more anger that you experience, the more that you feel angry, the less power that you have, because you have less control, right? Because you can't actually deal with your issues. And so what do you need to do to overcome this, right? He said, again, fawn is essentially appeasement, sucking up, being helpless, or trying to be so weak that you are left alone. You have to step out and you have to confront and face the things that are happening in life. I had a coaching client of mine and I've given this exercise to a lot of coaching clients. In fact, if you haven't checked it out, I did a live stream Q&A this last month for, I think, the December live stream for Bulldog Mindset membership. By the way, if you haven't joined, go click the link down below. Join us. You want to become a Bulldog, you want to become a strong top 5% man, this is the place to do it. But I have a live stream where I do a Q&A once a month. You can jump on there and ask me questions. Again, $7 for the first month. Go click the link down below and go join. Go check it out, at least for a month, and get on the live stream. But in that, one of the guys there was talking about being too nice, and I gave him the exercise I give a lot of my coaching clients, which is to start saying no to people, even to reasonable expectation or reasonable requests that people make. Just say no. And don't offer any kind of explanation. Don't tell them why you're saying no. Just let your no be no, right? Practice doing that. It's going to make you uncomfortable. Okay, but it's so critical, because what's happening here is it's being inauthentic, right? So a lot of you guys that are struggling with this fawning, I would call it nice guy syndrome, very similar. And there's a really good book on this, by the way. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Daniel Glover. I actually had him on the channel. There's a video, you can find that as well. You should read that book for sure. But a lot of the reason why you're being a nice guy is because you're being inauthentic. You're not being true to yourself. Okay, so you're trying to be selfless, but it's not selfless. Okay, it's the most selfish thing, because what happens is that you're actually behaving in a way in order to get a response that you want from another person, as opposed to being authentic and true how you should be. So you need to be more selfish, and you need to be willing to upset people. You need to be willing to confront people. You need to be willing to sometimes getting your ass kicked to a degree, right? Again, it doesn't mean to be stupid and to be a hothead, okay? It's the opposite, right? What it means is that you need to be looking at these situations where you're in a potential conflict with a person, and you need to not worry about what the outcome is going to be. Okay, you need to hold firm to who you are as a person, right? So what does this look like, right? A lot of times it looks like saying no. That's why I use the saying no exercises, because we tend to do what he's describing there, doing some kind of appeasement, right? So really, if you want to solve this problem of this kind of fawning, you've got to start by learning to be selfish. You got to start by learning to set boundaries, to say no to people, to allow people to be upset with you, right? Because this is what it all comes down to. And then, he describes that, he had this relentlessly overbearing, controlling father. I used to fawn, right, to avoid punishment. Stop trying to avoid punishment. Stop trying to avoid consequences in your life, right? Part of being a man, and I talk to you guys about this all the time. If you want to become a man, you need to step up and do what you want in your life and accept whatever consequences come, right? In fact, I have a video, I think that where I talk about the 3 ways to become a man, or the 3 steps to become a man. I know there's one in the membership. I'm not sure which one. I've probably talked about it in multiple areas. But one of the key things I talk about, okay, I talk about killing your father metaphorically, all right, which is key. All right. That means adopting your own value system. All right. But the second thing is living your life and accepting whatever consequences come from it. Right. So when I made that transition, okay, as I got out of this phase and became assertive and became a non-apologetic to who I am, right? Unapologetically me, you could say that. I had to decide in my life that if I die, I'm going to die. I'm mortal. And trying to trade everything for security was the wrong choice, right? And so that's kind of what you're doing, right? If you think about this from a psychological perspective, what do you do? Why are you fawning, right? We talked about the fight, flight, or freeze response, right? What is happening there? You're trying to preserve. It's self-preservation, right? It's this idea that if I am non-threatening, if I'm a pleaser, right? If I do nice guy type of things, then I will have more security. I won't be attacked physically. I won't be rejected emotionally, right? If you guys are having problems with women, you're afraid of rejection, right? And so you're trying to adopt a strategy instead of saying, no, I'm going to live my life and I'm going to accept whatever consequences come. That's the difference. He talked about not being able to stand up to strong alpha men or being an alpha man. Being an alpha man is all about owning your life, your choices in life, doing what you want in life, and then accepting whatever consequences or responsibility is a result of that. So that is more important than choosing security, right? If you choose security, right, you're always going to trade. There's always going to be a trade-off between freedom and security, right? As a man, my most important value in life is freedom. I want freedom. I will trade my security in order to have my freedom. Okay. And so if you want to have security, you're going to have to trade a lot of freedom. So you're not going to have freedom of action, right? You can't be yourself. You can't tell people what you really think. You can't stand up for yourself, right? You have to, you can't do the things that are going to hurt your security. So you've got to make that choice and say, no, I'm going to step up as a man because I am a man if I want to be a man. And I'm going to make the choices that I'm going to make in life. And then whatever happens because of those choices, I'm willing to accept whatever the consequences are, not avoiding the punishment of the actions. And that's the key thing. And that's scary because it puts you in danger. It puts you at a risk, a physical risk sometimes, an emotional risk sometimes. You're going to face rejection. You're going to face disapproval from people. You're going to face some degree of punishment to, when people want to make you pay for displeasing them. But the key in this is that what should not be happening is you shouldn't be getting angry, right? If you continue to suppress your emotions in this way, and again, I did another video on the 3 ways people deal with emotions. I believe it's not in the membership. I believe this one is on the YouTube channel. There's one on emotional mastery in the membership if you want to check that out. But this one, I believe we'll put up in the cards here. But you can either express, suppress, or process emotions, right? And so you need to be able to process these emotions, right? If you are suppressing all of these things and suppressing this anger, it's going to build up in you and it's going to be toxic to you, but then it's going to eventually come out and you're going to lose control, right? So as a man, one of the key attributes is to remain in control, right? Dominance. Okay. Dominance. What does it mean? It means mastery. It means being able to control the situation, right? You could think of this as power. Okay. When you're angry, when you're controlled by emotions, you're giving away your power. You're giving your power to other people. This is why a lot of guys, when I talk about anger, they don't like what I'm saying. The reason why they don't like what I'm saying is because it reveals a weakness in them, because they don't understand at a logical level, being angry is only a weakness. It is never a plus. There's no situation in which being angry is an asset to you. Okay. It does not help you think clearly. Okay. To make logical decisions. It does not help you in the sense that your choices are more from your free will, right? The more angry you are, okay, the more that you have that emotion, the more that your choices are dictated by that emotion, and that emotion is triggered by something outside of you. So if you connect the dots there, if you are angry, it means that you are more manipulated and controlled, right? This is just common sense here. If you think about this, right? If I can push your button, I can make you do something, right? To some degree, you become a puppet. You want to be the puppet master. You want to be the one who is dispassionate, who is able to make objective decisions. That is part of being masculine. That's part of being alpha, right? So when you're in this fawning, when you're doing this fawning thing, you're actually acting out of emotion. You're acting out of fear. Okay. You're letting that emotion control you. And then because of that fear, you're feeling shame, which results in anger. And then a lot of your actions stem from that anger, and they can be very negative at that point. What you want to be able to do is to operate more like a person playing a chess game, right? You should view life as a chess game. Okay. So don't get emotionally involved. Don't get attached to life, to outcomes. Instead, think strategically. Okay, this person did this thing. This is their chess move. Well, what's my best move that I can do in this place? What makes the most sense for me to do? A non-emotional decision, right? So should I suck up to them and try to appear weak? That's probably not a good strategy for achieving what you want in life, right? If you want to be a man, okay, and you want to stop coming across as weak and fawning, and you want to be able to get what you want in life, you need to make decisions that are going to be that are going to be based on your value systems, on what you believe is important, right? Which is going to be a trade-off between giving up some security to have more freedom. All right. And then you're not going to get angry about people's responses. You're not going to get upset. You're instead going to just operate based on what makes the most sense for you. That's the way to be analytical. That's the way to be more masculine and to step up and be a man. If you can't do that, then you are going to, you're always going to be subject to how other people treat you. Again, this is a lot of Stoic philosophy here, right? If you think about what Stoicism means, okay, Stoicism is essentially buffering yourself from the external world, which means that I don't have connections or attachments that allow someone else or circumstances to control my internal state and thus my external actions, right? The more that I'm connected to my emotions and I allow those emotions to dictate my actions, then the more that I'm connected to the external state, right? Other people can manipulate and control me by causing me, by creating a stimulus that creates an emotion in me, which drives an action. Okay. Anger is just the most common way that we do that in short circuit our logic. Fear and despair or sadness, melancholy are also ways, right? But also the external environment, right? Whatever happens, like there's a lot of random stuff that just happens in the universe that we don't control. Most of life we don't control. And so am I going to be buffeted by the waves? And my life and my decisions and what I do are going to be dictated by what happens to me, or am I going to be the source, right? When we talk about a locus, an internal locus of control, that's what we mean is an internal locus of control. It means that the source of my action doesn't come from outside me. It comes from within me, that I'm the one that is deriving those actions. And that requires me to be dispassionate. It requires me to be non-attached. It requires me to not lack emotion, but to lack the gear that engages the emotion to the action, right? It's like you have a gear here and it's your emotion, and that's fine. You can have emotions. That's great. You don't need to be emotionless, right? But you have this other gear that's action. The problem is when these two gears are engaged and the emotion makes the action gear go. You don't want to have that connection. Okay. That's important as a man to separate those things out. And if you can't do that, then there's no chance that you're going to get over this idea of being fawning, and you're not going to become a bulldog, right? Because you have to be able to do what you have in your mind. That is the key thing. If you're trying to please someone, if you're trying to avoid punishment, if you're trying to avoid the consequence of your actions, you're not going to be doing that. So long-winded way of saying all this. Make sure you check out the Bulldog Mindset membership if you haven't for a lot more details on that. I've got a lot of videos also I talked about in this video, so I encourage you to check those out as well.